When you take a look at the OK Green Conference, before we get into the nitty gritty of each team and what they do good and what they do bad and what they need to win here in 2026, from your opinion, and just looking at what this conference is right now, who emerges from the gold this season, or emerges from the green rather this season?
That's a really good question. I look at this conference and it reminds me of 2015 to about early 2020s Big Ten East.
Yeah, I know, I
You
know,
know,
I know exactly
the
where you're going with
Ohio,
this. Yes.
I mean, you got the sweatshirt on today. Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State. It's
Yep.
like who of those three teams are gonna, come out of that? That's exactly what the OK Green reminds me of. You got Muskegon, Byron Center, Mona Shores. Those are the three teams that have a legit chance to come out and make a run. It's Muskegon and Byron Center. Those are kind of the two that I'm really focusing down and I'm looking at. I'm like, man, I don't know. Like Muskegon, they kind of had a little rough last couple of years. They haven't really been that dominant team that everybody is there on a Friday night. Everybody's trying to tune into. A couple of years ago, they missed the playoffs for the first time in what seems like our lifetime. Byron Center though, they have been underdog. It feels like. I mean, they've been winning a lot of games, but they've been an underdog, and they've been right there. I think the natural reaction pick is going to be Muskegon, but I'm going to go with Byron Center here. I think Byron Center, this could be the year they finally get over the hump. They win the conference and they can go on a little bit of a run here.
That's not controversial. I don't think there's anything remotely controversial about that. Once upon a time, yeah, it may have been a little bit, but not now, given what we've seen out of Byron Center the last couple of years. But let's start with the number one that most people in their right mind, when they look at Michigan high school football, go, this team is going to finish first in the conference, and that is Muskegon. I mean, they are it is, it's almost kind of a pick your poison when you look at the Big Reds year after year. And again, we talked about the shaky start to the season last year, the inability to finish, those things when it came to Muskegon. By the way, we have to get to Traverse City at some point because I've had a couple of TC Central people hitting me up lately, and obviously that's important when it comes to this story because of what happened to Muskegon last year. What are you seeing out of the Big Reds coming into 2026?
Well, I'm seeing a team that is 2 years removed from winning a state championship team. A lot of the guys that are going to be on that team this year were freshmen, sophomores. So they saw that. They saw, when they're young, they're like, okay, I want to get there. Okay, well, now you had a couple of bad years, or not necessarily bad, but not Muskegon football. That's bad for Muskegon football. So, you're looking at a team that took care of business where they needed to, as in Reese Puffer and Union with two dominant wins last year. But you got a Mona Shores team that is, it's like that Penn State team. Like if they come in, they have a really good night, they could upset you. So they got to stick strong through games like the Mona Shores, and they just got to finish business with Byron Center. And that's how they're going to get it done this year.
Once upon a time, comparing someone to James Franklin wouldn't have been considered an insult. However, in 2026, that may be. So we're not comparing anyone to James Franklin here on In the Huddle. However, Penn State is still a very good football program. I like Matt Campbell, too, by the way. I think he's really good head coach. I'm interested to see what he could do at Penn State. This is not a college football podcast, so let's march on. We'll talk maybe a little bit more about that as we get closer to the season. Number 2 on this list is the team that you opened up saying will probably win the conference, and that is Byron Center. They got to a state championship game in 2024. They lost to Orchard Lake St. Mary's. And listen, that is a really hard school to play any year you want to play them. They're just so good in so many different ways. But this is a great team in the Grand Rapids area who has only continued to get better. They put up a really good fight against Hudsonville last year, who we know went on to go to a state championship game as well. They had a bad loss against East Kentwood, but it seems like in terms of the depth of a overall roster, when you look at the Grand Rapids area, Byron Center is very deep with what they have in terms of options going into this season. What do you see out of the Bulldogs? I know you already said they're going to win the conference championship, but what's your honest breakdown of what they're going to do this year?
I mean, what I see when I look at their schedule, especially last year, they're playing teams that aren't necessarily in the state of Michigan. And you don't see that a ton, especially around this Grand Rapids area. But you kind of look at that and you wonder, you're like, okay, are they thinking that maybe the competition in West Michigan isn't as strong as they would like?
Ooh.
Are they thinking that some of these teams that they could schedule, that they're just going to go in there, drop a 60 burger and call it a night, So they're going down to Indiana, they're going down to Illinois, or they're coming up here, and they're playing these teams. And now that I believe they split both interstate games last year, but no, going forward this year, I mean, it's really all eyes on that Muskegon game, and if you can take care against Muskegon, you're most likely going to win the conference. That's going to set you up looking good for playoffs. Although the same thing, that both schools are in the same division, right? So you're most likely going to have to face each other again some point in those first two rounds of the playoffs. Although with the seeding this year, that could really change some things up.